Talk about where you came from, Chelsea, Massachusetts. Good old Irish Catholic neighborhood, suburb of Boston, industrial town, naval town. Dad was an alderman, grandfather was a cop. I feel like we've got Goodwill Hunting meets Rudy here is what I'm working with. How was Chelsea a good breeding ground to become the future football coach in Notre Dame?
It really was. You know, when I grew up, it was a melting pot. It was Italians and Polish and Jewish. My next door neighbor was Ronnie Vanuka, and I learned about the menorah, and I learned about you know, being in that melting pot. It was really good for me growing up there. It's since changed, unfortunately. I think the country's changed, obviously, in a lot of those areas. But for me, growing up in Chelsea, Massachusetts, I'm proud of that. And growing up in that blue-collar atmosphere, I think, has helped develop who I am today. And so I think it served me well, too, you know, working with 105 you know, football players from different social economic backgrounds, different parts of the country. I think it's a good starting place for anybody that's working in this field.
And I guess being an Irish Catholic in Boston, I mean, Notre Dame was kind of your team, but I don't get the sense that you necessarily grew up a huge Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, right? You're right. It was on TV, but we were doing so many other things. We're playing so many different sports. Football, you know, on the East Coast, it was all professional sports. Right. Collegiate sports weren't as big in Boston. You were following, I know I was following Bobby Orr at that time, or I was following Carl Yastrzemski. I was following, you know, Tommy Heinsohn, Bob Cousy, Johnny Havlicek. I mean, that was Boston back then, and college football was kind of a backdrop. But certainly Notre Dame football was the only game in town when I was growing up.
You mentioned Bobby Orr. I know that you were a big Bobby Orr fan growing up. Give me a piece of Bobby Orr that's still in you that maybe influenced you as a coach. Where's Bobby Orr in there?
I just think his desire to take over a game. I love the will of a player that wants to take over a game. The Michael Jordans, the LeBron Jameses, when they exert their will. I love watching competitive greatness when that time comes when somebody takes over a game. That was my first exposure. It was Bobby Orr. As a hockey player, taking over a game, which is so hard to do, I just thought it was unique at the time.
I mentioned your dad being an alderman, and you took a look at politics early in your life, right after college, worked a few years in the Massachusetts State House, worked for Gary Hart when he ran for president in 1984. Would you have been a good politician if you set your mind to it?
Well, you know, I grew up in a time where the Kennedys were still, you know, part of the culture, you know, and Bobby Kennedy in particular, where public service was seen differently. And so I was interested in public service. But when I got into politics, public service was not what I thought it was. It started to become a little bit more partisan and politicized in the sense that it is today.
I would say even back then, people think this kind of a recent thing.
What's going on right now, I think that, and I don't want to say I was jaded, but it wasn't exactly what I thought it was. And so I was interested in public service. It didn't seem to me like it was public service at the time. And so I got back to what I really loved, and that was being in athletics. So I left politics, got back into athletics, and that's why I am here today.
But you work with the media a lot in
in
those few years. That had to be a huge help in terms of dealing with yahoos like me.
No, I agree. I think it was probably one of the best things that has served me well here today and working at Notre Dame, where the media certainly is large. And you know, I think what helped me the most was that I could respect the job that they had to do more than anything else. Didn't have to agree necessarily, but respected that they had a job to do because I got a chance to see them 24 hours a day. I got a chance to see them outside the press conference, and that they had other lives other than just to ask a question. And I think that gave me a very good perspective that I've been able to draw on.
Respect for the media, so that definitely sets you apart from those coaches that I deal with. So I appreciate that. Also read where you actually took the CIA entrance exam at one point. You wanted to be a spy?
No, I think I was trying to. I'm at that time where most
because that would prepare you for being in the media.
Yeah, no question, absolutely. I think anybody at that time in college, just finishing up your degree, it was either a spy or paint houses, right? You're trying to find yourself.
What's cooler?
Exactly, and I think I was just trying to search to find. I got my degree. Where are you going to go? And I don't know that I really had a lock on anything at that period of time.